Name something that gets passed around.
A joint.
A joint?
Legalize marijuana is always a very difficult question.
The time is long overdue for us to remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
From now on, I smoke weed exclusively with white people.
Well, I'll get high next time.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man, the Snoopy Poop Dog.
There's definitely cannabis in there, and it makes sure that I can sleep now.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
Don't piss off your old dealer.
Marijuana is not the kind of thing that ought to be legalized.
I know you're not supposed to admit that you smoke pot, but I don't drink alcohol.
Let's get out of here. I have some really good weed back at the hotel.
I used to smoke marijuana.
I don't care if an adult wants to smoke marijuana. They shouldn't go to prison for it either.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Time for Toker Talk Radio. I'm Radical Russ Belville, hanging out here in beautiful legal Potland, Oregon. Delta 9 Studios, and it's a gorgeous day out here in Portland. We got some guests showing up here to the Delta 9 Airbnb. A good friend of mine, Matt Lee, is coming in from, he was originally Kalispell, Montana. He used to have a podcast called the Hot Box Podcast. You old 420 radio fans will remember the Hot Box Podcast. And, he's supposed to be coming in. I thought he was going to be in before 1, but looks like he's going to be a little bit later. But maybe we'll get him on the mic once we get him here into the studio. So last hour, I finished up with a rant on things less harmful than marijuana in Idaho. And to sum it up, bungee jump, concealed carry, tend bar, buy explosive fireworks, and pass cars at 94 miles per hour on the freeway while riding a motorcycle without a helmet, no permit or training required. Just don't smoke pot legally in Oregon and then cross into Idaho. Idaho is one of 4 states that maintains a penalty, a crime, a criminal record for merely being high in public. Just being under the influence of a controlled substance is a crime. And by under the influence, that would be active THC in your system, certainly. Could even be metabolites, inactive metabolites. It's not really been tested, but I'm betting it could be. We'll just see how an Idaho prosecutor and judge decide what under the influence means. Maybe I'll become the test case, because I'm going to make a big point about this at the Boise Hempfest this weekend. I'm going to point out to the cops that there is a misdemeanor going on right in front of their face. That my standing on that stage is a crime equal to first-time DUI. Equal to punching someone in the face. Now, if I was up on the stage punching someone in the face, you'd think the cops would intervene. If I was out on the road driving under the influence and weaving all over, you think they would intervene. But we'll see what they do when I tell them I'm under the influence of marijuana. But yeah, this is the state I come from. I left Idaho in 2003 because I discovered you could. Like, there's no guards, there's no gates, there's no fences, there's no sharks with frickin' lasers on their head. You can leave, get the hell out. But that's not possible for everyone. That's not people have friends, people have families, people have jobs and careers and homes. They shouldn't have to leave their home state to be treated like a citizen, to be treated as an equal to a beer drinker. That's what's so maddening about this, is because Idaho's got a big old cowboy beer drinking culture. Boy, that's, drinking a beer, gonna have a beer. Guys go out hunting with a case of beer, right? I mean, this is the Idahoans have no fear of that, right? Let's all go out into the woods in camouflage clothing with high-powered long-range rifles and get drunk. That's not a worry, but oh my God, if we give kids CBD oil, that might be the slippery slope to leading to teenagers smoking pot. So yeah, this is a state I'm headed back to for the Hempfest, and bless these people that put Boise Hempfest on, because as far as I'm aware, it's the only Hempfest in an absolute prohibition state that I know of. So good for them. And you can't even smoke tobacco in a park in Idaho. So you can't even play the game where you're going to hide it with a cigarette or nothing. They see a cloud of smoke, they're going to come arrest you. So be very careful, folks. So I was talking about Governor Butch Otter. I hope you like my artist representation of Governor Otter there. Butch Otter does sound like a gay sea mammal, doesn't it? Anyway, I was talking about Butch Otter, and he did sign some new laws this year. And that one law that he signed had to do with no permits, no training necessary to concealed carry a firearm. If you're 21 years old in the state of Idaho, and there's not something disqualifying you, like, you've been convicted of a felony or there's a domestic order against you or a restraining order, something like that, right? If there's nothing specifically saying you can't, you can go buy a gun and hide it on your person and go pretty much anywhere. You can't take it into schools or prisons pretty much, but that's it. You can take a loaded gun anywhere you want. Butch Otter was fine with that. No problem. That doesn't endanger public safety at all. I mean, not like letting epileptic kids use a non-psychoactive CBD oil. Oh my God. And so that was just one of the bills that he signed, but he also signed the bill that allows people on freeways, if you're driving on a freeway that's posted, a 2-lane road that's posted 55 miles an hour or greater for the speed limit. And by the way, speed limit in Idaho in some places gets to 80 miles an hour. Okay. So any place that's above 55 miles an hour on a 2-lane place, you can pass another car that's going under the speed limit at up to 15 miles an hour faster than the speed limit and not get a ticket. And if you're going more than 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, the punishment you get is equal to as if the speed limit was 15 miles an hour higher than what's posted. In other words, if I'm passing someone at 100 miles an hour on an 80 mile an hour freeway, I'm only 5 over the limit. And I'd get whatever the ticket is for going 5 miles an hour too fast. So like Idaho, and I know this for a fact, if you go over 15 miles per hour over the speed limit, it's a reckless driving ticket. Because I was convicted of reckless driving as a juvenile in Idaho. It's a whole another story. Reckless driving is 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, right? But that doesn't kick in until the 15 miles an hour over that you're allowed to pass, right? So at an 80 mile an hour speed limit, that's 95 that you can pass, and it wouldn't be until 110 miles an hour before it'd be considered reckless driving. And I covered all the other stuff. Idaho's a weird place, what they consider dangerous, right? Like, you can go bungee jump off the Perrine Bridge. This is the bridge that crosses the Snake River Canyon. If you remember Evel Knievel trying to jump the Snake River Canyon, it's a gorgeous canyon, right? And it's almost a 500-foot drop from the bridge to the river down below. It's 486 foot. You can go bungee jump off that. No permit. No requirements. Just go jump off the bridge. That's perfectly legal. But after you go jump off the bridge, you can't go to a strip club that serves alcohol and shows boobs. I'm serious, man. In Idaho, if your establishment serves alcohol and has female dancers, they must wear bikinis. In fact, I've seen tinier bikinis. I've seen more skin on South Beach in Florida in public than I've seen in strip clubs in Idaho, right? And not only that, that strip club in Idaho that requires the women to wear bikinis can't sell liquor. It can only sell like beer and wine and cider, right? No liquor, no shots, no cocktails. That's how dangerous boobs are. Oh my God. We can let guys pack weapons, concealed firearms, ride without a helmet on a motorcycle, passing cars at 95 miles per hour, and be served by untrained, unlicensed 19-year-old bartenders and buy any kind of explosive fireworks you want so long as you don't use them in Idaho. Wink. And bungee jump off a bridge without a permit. We're fine with that in Idaho, but we can't let you shoot a shot of tequila and see a naked boob. That's how crazy this state is, folks. And they do have naked strip clubs. They do have some clubs. Well, I'm sorry, not naked, topless. They will let the women go topless in clubs for people aged 18 and older, so long as they serve no alcohol. The juice bars. So they have, seriously, Idaho has like juice bars with topless women. And of course, you can't touch them or tip them or anything like that either, right? So it just shows you how puritanical the state is. Scared to death of marijuana, scared to death of human sexuality, but oh my God, guns and explosives, let them rip. Let's have a good old time. So when we come back from break, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Idaho Governor Butch Otter and his interesting quirk of the political system in Idaho that's shared with only 5 other states that makes Governor Butch Otter's proclamations and vetoes nearly impossible to overturn. All that and more coming up on Toker Talk Radio. I'm Radical Russ. We're back right after this.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
In the interest of fair and balanced journalism, the Russ Belville Show presents the anti-drug public service announcement of the day.
It's got to be tonight, right? It's got to be tonight.
Did you know that thousands of men are impotent because they smoked? Probably not, because they don't like to talk about it. Every cigarette you smoke causes fatty deposits that restrict the flow of blood to your penis. And this damage is happening right now. For help and advice on giving up, call 0800 169 0169.
This has been the Russ Belville Show's anti-drug public service announcement of the day, exclusively on RadicalRuss.com.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit MJBA.net for more details.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
People will smoke marijuana in pot stores right next to schools, daycare centers, and churches.
Okay, well, maybe you're high, too. Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that. Illegal! A public service message from the Russ Belville Show. Yar! Thar be pirates here. Har, 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 har. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. 13 and a half after the hour. We were talking about Idaho Governor and dyke furry porn star Butch Otter. And I found this political reporter who is, I got the tweet originally. I got the tweet originally from Tom Angel out at the Marijuana Moment newsletter. And it's a political reporter in Idaho named Kimberly Crucy. She covers Idaho politics for the Associated Press. And the original tweet that turned me on to her heading here, to her Twitter account, was the fact that Butch Otter was on a radio interview. This was on the 11th. Tuesday? Yesterday, right? So he was on this radio interview, and a caller called in and asked, how come you don't legalize marijuana? And Butch Otter's response to that was, I don't see the gain. I don't see the gain. It's like, what? You can't see to the west where Oregon is raking in tax revenue hand over fist because of marijuana legalization? You don't see the state of Washington raking in revenue to fix schools because of marijuana legalization? The only reason Butch Otter can't see the gain from legalizing marijuana is he doesn't want to see the gain from legalizing marijuana. And the thing is, and I learned this from Kimberly Crucy's Twitter feed, he doesn't have to. This is an interesting thing. I just learned this, and I swear, I lived in Idaho most of my life. I did not know this about Idaho politics, but the way that Idaho works, the way that its legislature works, is that of course, like everywhere else, the legislature can pass bills, House and Senate everywhere except, Nebraska just has one legislature, just has a unicameral legislative body. But every place else has a House and a Senate. And then they pass bills and they send it to the governor. And the governor has a choice to either sign the bill, let the bill become law without his signature, or veto the bill, right? But when the governor vetoes the bill, then the legislature can come back and override the veto, usually with something like a 2/3 majority, right? Wrong. In Idaho, the legislature can't necessarily overturn a governor's veto. Now, they can. There's a mechanism by which they can overturn a governor's veto, but here's the thing. The legislature can't overturn a veto if the legislature's not in session. And the way the Idaho code is set up, the Constitution is set up, when the legislature ends its session, they're a biennial legislature. They only meet every 2 years, right? And when the legislative session is over, only the governor can reconvene the legislature for any sort of special session or vote. So guess what happens? The governor, when he wants to veto stuff, he always vetoes it at the end of the session. If he vetoes it in the middle of the session, the legislature can bring it back up. They can override the veto if it's something popular. But if he waits till the last day or two and vetoes it then, they can't come back and override that veto. It becomes law. Then, 2 years later, if the session comes back, they would have to pass a whole separate different bill to try to get this law passed that's super popular. And the cannabidiol oil bill is a perfect example of this. It had broad bipartisan support in the Idaho Senate, Idaho House. I believe in both bodies it had enough to overturn a veto. But of course, Butch Otter vetoes it at the very end of the session. So nobody can do anything about it. So here's Kimberly Crucy, and she's KKRUESI on Twitter, at KKRUESI. If you're interested in following these, Idaho reporter for the Associated Press, the other vetoes that he did, just to give you an idea of the character of the man. Entrepreneurial makeup artists who make brides beautiful on their wedding days won't be legally allowed to work in Idaho. No freelance makeup artistry. He vetoed a bill that would have made that legal in Idaho. Businesses that want to demonstrate curling irons will continue to be prohibited by law from doing so. Yeah, go ahead and buy a gun, concealed carry it without a permit or training, but by God, don't show people curling irons. Who knows what mayhem that could wreak? Oh my God. Idahoans who have never been charged with a crime can lose their property in a proceeding known as civil asset forfeiture. Idaho had a bill this year to severely restrict the use of civil asset forfeiture. It would make it so, get this, you'd have to be convicted of a crime before the cops could steal your stuff. I know, crazy, huh? But this had big support in the Senate, big support in the House. And you got to understand, Idaho Republicans are kind of libertarian-ish. They're like, yeah, get the government out of my business, right? So you can see why that'd be popular in Idaho, right? Governor vetoed it. Governor vetoed it. And Idaho is one of the states, one of the few states in the nation that has a sales tax even on groceries. Like, even when you're buying food, you got to pay a sales tax. Now, the workaround on this in Idaho had been that, okay, you're going to spend sales tax on groceries, but at the end of the year, you could add up all the sales tax you spent on groceries and give you a tax rebate for that. They kept that. He vetoed a fix for that.
I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
Well, how appropriate, Mr. Nixon. All right, we got to take a break because guess what? It's 4:20. It's 20 after. It means it's time for our union-mandated safety briefing, and my buddy Matt is here. We're going to get on that. Are we going to get on that?
We're going to get on that. How's it going, guys?
It's going
I'm
great.
right by the speaker.
We will talk about that in just a moment. Have fun. Smoke them if you got them. We'll be right back after these messages. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
I don't drink, I don't smoke pot, but I drink and I smoke pot, and I will tell you that there is a huge difference between marijuana and alcohol.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere. NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs. I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Sounds like a skunk. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. 21 and a half after the hour, and we were talking about Idaho's governor and dyke furry porn star Butch Otter. And, he vetoed a repeal of sales tax on people's groceries. It's a special kind of cruelty, right? So I'm headed to Idaho for the Boise Hempfest. I encourage everyone to check it out this weekend, Saturday at the Julia Davis Park. It's BoiseHempfest.com, and I'll be speaking there at the amphitheater. And we'll see if I can get arrested for being high in public. We'll just see what happens. You know, I'm not going to smoke in Idaho. I don't take weed to Idaho. I don't have to. I know people. No need to take it. You already got some friends, right? But we shall see what happens. So check out on Monday. If there's no show on Monday, I might have a GoFundMe up for bail money. We'll see what happens. All right, we got a special guest joining us here in the studio. How you doing, Matt?
I'm well, man. How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Too hot? Am I good?
No, you're good.
Perfect.
Hot mic.
Man, I saw that you had this amazing Airbnb up, the Delta 9 house, and doing reviews of things I do. I figured, shit, I better come try it. Ooh, can I say that here?
Yeah, you can say awesome. Shit, damn hell.
Hell,
right.
Shit, yeah.
In fact, take that
good
mic.
To see you again.
Take that mic out of that holder there. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to lean over there. I still didn't get everything quite set up. We still got to get those nice arms.
Yeah, those swing arms and some shock mounts. This is nice, though, man. You got an epic studio here.
Well, it's taken a while to get to this point, but it's nice to have it and nice to have you here. Matt and I go back to the 420 radio days. We had him on the Hot Box podcast out of Kalispell, right?
Yep. We were following a lot of the medical marijuana stuff happening there in Montana, and then some raids happened to some friends, and then, long story short, I ended up in Washington. Now I'm in Eugene, and your neighbor almost.
That's fantastic because I need people in the middle of the I-5 corridor. I got people in Southern Oregon. I got people up here in Portland. I didn't have a lot of people in Eugene, so now I'll get you reporting on the U of O scene.
It's a great scene down there. Everybody I've met so far is either a glass blower or a medical cannabis aficionado / grower. It's epic. I love it there.
It's a wonderful thing. And what about, speaking of Montana, the 2016, you guys had the election and actually got around to, you know what I found interesting about the election? Because you guys had that veto referendum in 2012.
Do you remember that? Yeah. With the brand and the cowboy? Oh,
yes, I do.
Goodness.
And it was one of those deals where you had to vote no to say yes, and you had to vote yes to say no. Like, it confused the hell out of everyone, and it lost by 57%. And then you guys go and do the one that's the right way. Vote yes to say yes, vote no to say no. And what do you know? It's the same 57%.
So weird.
How'd that happen?
You can almost shape politics the way you word these ballots. That's so crazy. Who knew?
Wow, that's just amazing. So what's the state? I mean, how long has it been since you've been in Montana?
It's been a good year and a half, 2 years since I've been back there, but I do still try and keep in touch because I have a house there and all that. I would like to one day be able to go back. And yeah, they had another vote, as we know, and they got that passed, and now it seems like they're arguing over parts of it now before it actually is law. So they're in that phase.
So are they going along? Because there's with the most recent states that have passed in 2016, it's like the people by 54 to 71% in Florida, huge majorities pass these laws, and then the legislators come back and go, oh, but wait, that's not really what the people need. No. You don't really want home grow. You don't really. Is that happening in Montana?
We heard so much, and this was speaking of the first time around, is that's not what Montanans voted for. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it was because we voted for it. And now you're trying to say we didn't know what we were voting for, so they tried to repeal it and this and that. But I feel like that happens everywhere, but there especially, and I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to be the blame game or anything, but maybe some of Idaho's leaking over into Montana. I don't know.
Idaho is bleeding over. You've got Idaho's surrounded. We got them surrounded.
I know. They're scared. They're in a corner, and when that happens, that's when things get dangerous or they change for the best.
They're an injured animal backed into a corner. Nobody puts Idaho in a corner.
There's such nice country there too, and I hate to have to boycott it, but it's just.
It's difficult.
I can't. Yeah.
So you've moved out of Montana, made your way to Washington, and now in Oregon. Are you part of? You were saying you're doing reviews. So what for?
I write for stuff stoners like, and then I still do the hot box. The magazine gig. I'll tell you something. I don't know how much of this I can really say, but I haven't had the best experience in the legal cannabis industry. A lot of flakes. A lot of, and I understand the system wasn't fully there, so we had medical and rec, and medical ended, so of course you can't bring everyone to rec, so a lot of us got laid off. And then the magazine gig, it's like, all right, well, we can't pay you, so we got to lay you off. And so you could kind of say I'm unemployed right now, so if you are hiring, I'll clean your house here. I mean,
hey,
it's been a journey though, definitely. I'm glad to have done it. I learned a lot in the small time I've been there.
So what are some of the latest things that stoners like that you've been writing
about? Stoners like pretty much anything we tell them to.
All right, so let's narrow it down a bit, since you and I have a ton of background on this. I do a thing when I go to events where I call it the Radical Russ whoa, that's cool item of the event, where it's like, I've never seen anything like that. It's completely new. It blew my mind. What sort of things you got that?
I was going to say, I thought my bag was still here. The latest thing I reviewed is called the Hydrology 9. It's by a company called Claudius 9, and I don't know if they're available still. Last I checked, you had to do the sign up, and when we're finished fixing it or making it cool, we'll send it to you. But it's a flower vape that you put water in, and so it's like liquid. It filters your vape hits even more, if that's possible. Okay. So it looks cool. It plays a cool LED light show. And so when you turn the lights off and you're vaping with some rave music, maybe it's there. I don't usually travel with it, but I knew coming to the Delta 9 house, it would be a nice office memento for you.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have to check that out.
And then, the Dipper too. I know Dipstick Vapes, they made the Dipper, the first one, which was like a nectar straw. The tip heats up and you pull through. So their second version, they added the ability to put a coil on top. So it's not only a Dipper, but it's a regular vape pen if you choose to be. So I thought that was kind of cool. But
very, very cool.
Lots of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And any events you've been to recently?
Not since I got laid off from the magazine.
Yeah, it costs money.
I know I got friends that are working their way to Arizona to the thing that's happening there. Was it Imperious or Indo? Yes. One of those. Yeah. And then, Boise Hempfest, I always hear about from our friend Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. He's there covering stuff for the magazine. Getting paid, hopefully.
Is he headed to Idaho?
He's there.
Oh.
He's in Arizona for the expo, and then he'll be going to Boise. So you'll probably see him there.
Yeah, Ryan, if you're listening, hit me up, man.
He's good people.
All right, so in Eugene, one of the things that I love about Eugene, Oregon, is it's It's kind of hippie central. It's kind of like, further bus and
crunchy. I've heard it described as
crunchy. So what's it like for you transitioning from Montana to Eugene, Oregon?
Ooh, it's a lot less riding horses and a lot more like wading through patchouli. Now it's
a little
not,
less horse shit, a little more patchouli.
more hippie shit, less horse shit. No, I will definitely, and I'll take the hippies over the horses any day of the week. But it's nice being in a community that knows what's going on. In Montana, you have your close-knit communities, but anything outside of that, and it's like talking to people in Idaho or talking to a brick wall. I don't mean to keep harping on Idaho.
That's all right.
And here, or in Eugene and here in Portland, everywhere in Oregon I've been, it's been awesome. The people are on that level. I feel like these are my people, Like it's a weird feeling. I have been all over the place in other countries, and I've never felt that in a place yet. And I think Oregon was it. Even Washington, I was like, this is cool, but you guys are messing up some junk. So further south I go.
What a night and day difference between Washington law and Oregon law.
Beautiful here. I can grow. There's a pot plant in my bathroom in Eugene. I don't even grow pot, Russ, and there is a pot plant in my damn bathroom. It's amazing.
It's just decorative.
Yeah, it's just hanging out there. I don't even know if it's happy or not because I don't grow pot. But when it's sunny, like it's been sunny twice since I moved there, and I bring the plant outside, and it seems to like it.
When did you move to Eugene?
About 4 months ago.
Okay, folks. So if you're listening. 2 sunny days
so far
in 4 months.
I'm optimistic though.
But you moved at the right time. I tell people if you're thinking of moving to the Pacific Northwest, don't come out in June.
Mm-mm.
Don't come out in July. Come out in January. You move here in January. You can make it that 4 months. You can make it. But you got to.
Yeah, the rain is different than like snow in Montana. We deal with snow all day. When it rains, like shit gets flooded, and then your car doesn't go anymore. It's like, damn. They had a snowplow I saw when I was in Washington, so we had a really bad flood there, and they used it to get the water off the road, which I thought was really novel.
Now, see, you're from you Kalispell, Montana,
northwest corner,
Boise, Idaho, and other places in Idaho. We came up in a place where there'd be snow.
Yep.
And you had to drive through snow.
You get your snowmobile out.
Did you experience any snow driving in Eugene?
Ooh, I did in Portland. You guys don't do it so well. I'll say that. I did manage to swerve around about 8 sets of chains. I don't think they told people here that like when it snows on the highway, you can't go highway speeds with the chains.
Right.
They think the chains are like, all right, we're good to go. Let's 70 miles an hour.
What the hell was that?
I don't know, but now like 18 cars just had to swerve around your damn chains. But yeah, stuff stops. People abandon their cars. It was apocalyptic, man. It's epic.
You expected zombies running.
I was waiting for people to loot. I was like, what's going on? You just leave these cars here. It's
and it's just the slightest bit of snow.
I saw that one other time in my life. It was in Dallas, Texas, and it got a tiny bit of freezing rain with a little bit of snow, and like the shit was shut down. Me and my buddy from Montana made it to work. Nobody was there. The boss was like, "Oh my God, are you guys okay? You guys drove in that, dude? Civic with Montana plates, like it's fine.
Yeah, in fact,
go home if you can. Just stay there. Wait it out.
We're sending the National Guard. Everything will be okay. Don't panic.
Can you make it to the rooftop? It's epic, though. I've definitely enjoyed it, though. I like it. And this is cool. I mean, you have an Airbnb. Do you talk about that on your show?
Oh, absolutely.
You have an Airbnb you can rent out that like you can smoke weed in. You know how many hotels I've almost gotten kicked out of?
Yeah.
None, because I don't smoke weed in them. I smoke dabs. But if I smoked weed
with the little shower cap over the smoke detector,
I still put the towel under the door. Just out of habit.
Not just an Airbnb, but an Airbnb where there's currently 3 different types of shatters sitting on the counter.
I saw that, and you have like a booth, at a restaurant that has not menus but trays of
weed
flour.
and grinders and
I may never leave. You may just end up seeing me here.
If you can cover the rent, it's all good.
That's awesome, man.
It's all good. Yeah, we've had. So we opened up the Airbnb. Well, if you look up on that calendar, we opened it up on March 25th, and every red you see is a booking. So we've had maybe 3-4 days where somebody hasn't been booked here.
I'm amazed I was able to get a spot. I had no idea. I just saw you post it, and I was like, hey, I'm closer. Let's go check it out.
I'm glad you did.
Very cool.
All right, we're going to take a break here at Delta 9 Studios and maybe sample some of that Dabberoonie. And when we come back, we'll have more with Matt. We'll discuss more on marijuana legalization, the latest news, and take your calls at 650-LEGAL-MJ. We're back right after this.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The Law Office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
I think we have too much of a tolerance for drug use, psychologically, politically, morally. We need to say, as Nancy Reagan said, just say no. Don't do it. There's no excuse for this. It's not recreational. It can be destructive, and it consistently is destructive. Lives are at stake, and we're not going to worry about being fashionable, in my view, at this point in time. We're going to see, and we're already seeing, the death and destruction that results from the prevalence of drugs in America, and the argument's not going to be that hard to win in the months to come. People will see too many of the people they know losing their lives. I reject the idea that we're going to be better placed if we have more marijuana, and you can just go down to the corner grocery store and get it. Give me a break. This is high-purity THC content marijuana, and it's not a healthy substance, particularly for young people. I'm astonished to hear people suggest we can solve our heroin crisis. Have you heard this? By having more marijuana. Well, how stupid is that? Give me a break. So we're going to have to stand up and confront that. Tell the truth here. Our nation needs to say clearly once again that using drugs is bad. It will destroy your life. In the 80s and 90s, we saw campaigns stressing prevention. I spent a lot of volunteer time with volunteers in my hometown, as I think happened all over. Many of you participated in those, and it did work. We can do this again. Educating people and telling them the terrible truth about drugs and addiction will result in better choices by more people. We can reduce the use of drugs, save lives, and turn back the surge in crime that inevitably follows in the wake of increased drug use.
You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
Americans have increasingly come to the conclusion that the drug war is a failed policy.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere.
The news that no parent ever wants to hear. And we just didn't understand. And because this is a disease, you don't understand the dynamics of it. You can't, nothing prepares you for this journey. Unfortunately, my son OD'd after having been clean for 10 and a half months, OD'd on a drug that was laced with fentanyl. So he died.
Which is getting worse and worse. So here,
yes.
Getting just out of control.
So Carlos started smoking marijuana when he was 15 and a half years old, and for him, and he'd be the first to tell you this, it's absolutely for him a gateway drug. It led to heroin, cocaine, crystal meth. At 18, when he was a senior in high school, with months to graduate, he had a crystal meth overdose. And by the time I got to the hospital, because his friend drove him there, I didn't even know that he was doing this to this extent. By the time I got to the hospital, the ER doctor came out and said, you need to call your family now. We don't think there's anything you can do for your son. We managed to transfer him to another hospital. He got the care that he needed. He was in a coma for 3 days and suffered some minor memory loss from that. And of course, at this time, as an 18-year-old said, oh, I'm never going to touch anything again. I'm going to stay clean. had him in a program, but less than a couple months later, he's back on the streets, not only taking drugs, but got caught smoking pot, ended up in jail. I had told him early on, I will put every penny, every dime I have into your recovery and getting you clean and helping you stay clean and supporting you 100%. But if you end up in trouble with the law, there is nothing I'm doing for you because you have to figure out the way out of that.
Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they aim you to say that.
Hey, man. Am I driving okay?
A public service message from the Russ Belville Show. Remember, friends, there's more to life than marijuana. I just can't remember what it is. Why'd I come in here? This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to 40 after the hour. Following up on a few stories that we've covered here on the show. In the first hour, I mentioned briefly how Attorney General and Sling Blade Hobbit Jeff Sessions was surprised that people reacted so negatively to his anti-marijuana comments. Surprised, shocked. It's weird how 60% of the American people think marijuana ought to be legal and 93% of them support it for medical purposes, and yet they were shocked when he said something bad about weed. Here's the quote. Let's see if I can do my Jeff Sessions for you again. When they nominated me for Attorney General, you would have thought the biggest issue in America was when I said, I don't think America's going to be a better place if they sell marijuana at every corner grocery store. People didn't like that. I'm surprised they didn't like that. End quote. Yeah, we're all really surprised. Here's why people were shocked. And even people that might not be so positive on marijuana legalization, they know that marijuana legalization doesn't mean marijuana being sold at every corner grocery store. That's what tobacco and alcohol are for. Those are the ones we sell at every corner grocery store. The marijuana, you got to go to a special building that's zoned way the hell out in the industrial area, far away from all people and any place where a child might ever look. Then, yeah, we can buy some marijuana. So maybe they're not even reacting to the whole legal marijuana. They're just reacting to obvious bullshit. They know that what he's saying is hyperbolic, that we're not talking about legalizing weed to pick up at the 7-Eleven. So, yeah, big shock, Jeff Sessions. In other news to follow up on, we told you how the Dallas City Council was looking at decriminalization. The Houston, Travis County has already done this. I think Houston and Travis County. Is Travis County Houston? Is that Austin? I always forget my Texas counties. Anyway, you can correct me in the chat room. But in Dallas, it looks like a new program was approved today by the Dallas City Council that will let people walk away with only a ticket if they're caught with less than a quarter pound. Well, all right. This is CBS 11, CBS Dallas Fort Worth reporting on this. If they get caught, they'll have to appear in court, much like when somebody gets a speeding ticket. So the city of Dallas says that with this program, they hope to reduce jail time for nonviolent offenses and cut down time officers spend at the jail processing these suspects and to improve officer response time to other emergencies. What a novel idea, that we would not waste police time dealing with some young person with a baggie of weed when they could be stopping domestic violence or a theft or something like that. What a concept. So congratulations to the folks in Dallas for moving ahead with almost the least they could do. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And finally, one other story. We've covered a lot of these stories about folks who are dealing with the issue of organ transplantation. And this is something that's really near and dear to my heart because of my relationship with Ganja John, my good friend Ganja John, who was a kidney transplant patient. And, they got these people, they get kicked off of transplant lists because they use marijuana. Well, we've got a story for you coming out of Salt Lake City, Utah on this. And of course, got to be aware, actually the story is covered out of CBS in Atlanta, but it concerns a young man in the state of Utah. We're just going to switch over to that news story and play that for you.
CBS 46
right now.
salutes Montlick & Associates, with dedicated attorneys who work hard to protect injured people and over 30 years of giving back to our communities. It's no surprise that Montlick & Associates is positively Georgia.
He was an avid skier, river runner, biker, enjoying life to its fullest.
Bad enough that his once healthy son needed a double lung transplant to live.
His lungs collapsed, and that fast. And they still have no idea what happened.
When he was told his son could not be on the transplant list, Mark Hansey...
I couldn't believe it.
The reason?
Riley did smoke a marijuana on Thanksgiving night with his friends.
And tested positive for THC.
Is that really a reason to disqualify him?
The doctor told Riley...
You will die. You better get your affairs in order.
And his reaction to this?
Oh, he started crying.
His father tells me Riley had been drug-free for a year.
Riley was not a big pot smoker. He did smoke pot. He's a 19-year-old ski guy.
The University of Utah cannot talk specifically about Riley's case, but the hospital follows international guidelines for transplants and evaluates cases individually. In a statement, we do not transplant organs in patients with active alcohol, tobacco, or illicit drug use or dependencies until these issues are addressed, as these substances are contraindicated for a transplant. Age and other medical conditions may also exclude patients from the list.
It's not like he's a smoker for 30 years and deteriorated his lungs because of that.
Mark Hansey scoured the country for a hospital willing to do the transplant. 2 months ago, the University of Pennsylvania hospital agreed. Riley was flown to Philadelphia on medical transport.
I looked at Riley and I went, oh my gosh, this poor soul looks like death.
12 days ago, doctors gave Riley 2 donor lungs.
He looks so healthy. It made all the difference. And he still looks healthy, but he's still fighting and doing well.
Wow, can you believe that? Having to fly your son all the way across the country because your home state won't give a lung transplant to a ski guy who smoked some weed over Thanksgiving. And whenever these transplant lists make their excuse as to why they got to kick people off of getting a life-saving organ, they'll say, well, there's this aspergillosis. There's this fungal infection that you can get from marijuana smoking that could kill the patient because of their compromised immune system. And I just don't understand how that's a legitimate argument for someone who's going to die without a double lung transplant. The guy's going to die. He's already got a death sentence. What would he care about the risk of aspergillosis? But again, the point should be made. This is not a regular pot smoker, this kid. This is not like me. It's not like your daily pot smoker. This is some 19-year-old who with friends over Thanksgiving smoked part of a joint. And because he tests positive for that weeks later, we're going to deny him a double lung transplant. And when you heard that statement from University of Utah Medical Center, we deny these transplants. They're contraindicated for people that have active alcohol, tobacco, illicit drug use, or dependence, it said. So if you're actively an alcoholic or actively a tobacco smoker, then we're going to deny you the lung transplant. And you could make the logical argument for that, right? If you're an alcoholic, you're going to be abusing your organ. Let's give it to someone who's not going to be so wasteful. If you're a cigarette smoker, let's not give you a new pair of lungs. Perfectly makes sense. And even the part where they say illicit drug dependence, I can even cope with that. If someone's got an active heroin problem, an active meth problem, sure, maybe we got to, hold off on giving the life-saving organ transplant. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying illicit drug use, just the use of it. You smoked pot once, prepare to die. That's the requirement now. You want a lung transplant, don't smoke pot or else you have to die. Well, thank God that the University of Pennsylvania stepped up and saved this guy's life. It's just sick, and we'll bring Matt back in on this because he's been listening over here as I've been going over this story, and it's just, have you ever known anybody that's had to suffer because of this transplant issue?
Not as far as getting transplants, but I mean, just saying that if you've ever smoked it, like that's ridiculous. And I understand, like you were saying, tobacco and alcohol, sure, but cannabis is different. Like, it's not killing people, it's not giving you cancer that we know of, and if it is, it's not the cannabis, it's whatever pesticides or what have yous are sprayed on them. Treat it like another medical thing. If the guy was on OxyContin for his pain and he needed this transplant, would you bat an eye? Of course not, because you're the one giving him this drugs. You know, like, it's double standards, man.
One of the first cases I had when I first got into doing this cannabis journalism gig around 2008. There was a case in Washington State in Seattle. This musician named Tim Guerin who needed a liver transplant, and the doctor got him off of oxycodones because those things kill your liver. like, gee, your liver's all messed up. Maybe we ought to take you off the liver killing pills, and recommended he use cannabis. He's like, well, that's not going to hurt your liver. That's going to be helpful. Well, the doctor who did that had no clue that was going to affect the transplant because this wasn't really well known back in 2008, right? So, yeah, Tim Guerin gets kicked off the transplant list, and they say, well, if you go clean and sober for 6 months, then we'll reconsider you.
That's like the proverbial carrot dangling. Yeah. Like, all right, if you can stop doing meth and heroin for, let's say, a year, we'll go ahead and give you those kidneys and lungs or whatever.
And the thing was, he had like 2 weeks to live. He had a 2-week,
we're not talking like diagnosis. A year down the road. This is immediate.
So saying, you be clean for 6 months was a death sentence. He goes to another center, and they were a little more lenient. They said 60 days. Well, he didn't make it. He didn't make the 60 days. He ended up dying. And this happened to more than just Tim Guerin. It's happened to a lot of people.
Oh, how many that we don't hear about? I mean, we hear about him because of, obviously who he is and all that. But yeah, that countless people, I'm sure.
And how any country that could have a majority that proclaim themselves to be Christian, and especially the state of Utah.
That could have been Jesus. You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
But especially Utah, being so strongly Mormon, it just blows my mind that they would allow someone to suffer like this and potentially die, someone who's 19. I was like, what about the children?
Yeah.
What about the children?
At what age are you not a child anymore?
Well,
in that case.
As long as they don't smoke pot, what about the children?
Right.
If they smoke pot, fuck them.
Fuck those children. But these children that don't smoke pot, they're good. They get all the livers they want.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll wrap things up here with Final Sesh. Me and Matt hanging out here in Delta 9, and we'll get you caught up on tomorrow's show. And remember, no show Friday, because I'll be driving into the red state. I'll be driving into Idaho.
See, if I was driving you, you could be doing a show on our way.
Hey, that's an idea. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
You're listening to the Russ Belville Show.
Enough is enough. Let's try a new way. Let's try a new policy.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere. Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that.
Oh, gnarly!
A public service message from the Russ Belville Show. Pod 2.0. It's not your father's Woodstock weed. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. 55 after the hour. We got about 3 minutes here to wrap things up with Matt from the Hot Box Podcast and Stuff Stoners Like. How can they find both of those things?
Ooh, that's a good question, Russ. I'm glad you asked. Hotbox.earth. We just posted a new show.
.earth?
You can go to hotboxpodcast.com, but hotbox.earth just sounds better. Just don't use their email because they'll spam the crap out of you if you get one of those domains. And, of course, stuffstonerslike.com. We do reviews and stuff like that today.
Very cool. So during break, he's broken out a lot of stuff. It's show and tell time, and I if I had a longer extension, I'd take the camera over there and we'd play show and tell.
We'll have footage on the Instagrams. They can check that out.
Check out the Instagram. What's the Instagram?
At the Jam Hole.
At the Jam Hole.
Don't ask. That's just what it is.
I'm
that's my mobile glass. I know. Just a few things I like to bring with me.
That's some good-looking glass over there.
It's not bad.
So maybe on tomorrow's show, we'll run some of the video. I'll hijack it off Instagram. We'll show it on the show. There we go. So we're wrapping things up here. Again, tomorrow's show will be the last show this week because on Friday I will be traveling into Idaho. Of course, tomorrow is our regular Cops Say Legalize Drugs segment with Law Enforcement Action Partnership. We'll have another great speaker joining us to give us the law enforcement perspective on why we need to end the prohibition of not just marijuana, but all drugs. And that's something, I'm looking at now, Matt, is that because like here in the Pacific Northwest, like it's a fait accompli as far as weed.
We're done.
Now
we've been celebrating.
Yeah, we're down to details now, right? So now I'm getting into we gotta work on legalizing mushrooms.
We need to hit up MAPS and then be like, MAPS, we need to legalize the rest of these plant teachers.
That's right, because there's and I'm glad plant teacher. I like that term,
right?
Because I've always said that there's plants not plants. There's entheogens and there's drugs. Mm-hmm. Like there's coca leaf, there's opium poppy, there's cannabis bud, there's fungi,
and then there's crack.
and those things are natural, and nobody has any right whatsoever to tell me how or what I do with them. But if someone synthesizes those things, extracts those things, and purifies those things, then there's room for regulation, I think.
Right.
So to me, crack, heroin, dabs, and LSD, those are drugs, and we could have some regulation.
Some of them are better drugs than others, but sure. And I'll tell you, the whole opiate epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
Ibogaine. I'll just leave it there.
I haven't covered a lot of Ibogaine on this show, so tell people.
I've done it, and I'll say that's what gave me my life back.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So
wow.
It's amazing for sure. But that's the top plant teacher tryptamine in that tree of ayahuasca mushrooms, all the other tryptamines.
Wow. I really need to do some more focus on Ibogaine. It's something I don't know a whole lot about.
Let's go to Mexico. We'll get you in the chair for 24 hours and you can experience it. Okay. I kind of want to do it again from a not try to get off opiate standpoint, but from a let's see what this can actually show me.
Right,
I think it would be different.
See, I had after a surgery, had some oxycodone, but I only took it for a couple days, and after that, I just took cannabis. It was just fine without that. Meth in the 90s, weed got me off of that. So nice. I've had weed as an exit drug. Ibogaine, I've heard a lot as an exit strategy from opiate addiction.
It works for a few things: alcoholism, cocaine addiction, and opiates are the three main ones that place I went to was studying. But again, you couldn't do it in the U.S., of course. You had to go to Mexico,
of course,
Canada.
Well, folks, it's just about time. Time flies when you legalize. That's all we got for today, but we'll be back with more 2 hours tomorrow right here on RadicalRuss.com, live on YouTube, and podcast through CannabisRadio.com. For Matt and myself and everyone here at Delta 9 House and Studios, thanks for joining us. Be safe out there. Be careful. And remember, you don't exactly know what's in that bag, so go slow and start low. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you